Hello everyone and welcome to the finals of the Chessable Masters knockout phase. It's Praggnanandhaa versus Liren and this is game 3. In game 1, as you've seen, Ding defeated Praggnanandhaa with the black pieces. Then in game 2, Pragu struck back with the black pieces also. It was a very interesting game, but in an equal end game, Ding missed one move and Pragu was able to take advantage of that end game. So the result is now equal, and now this is game 3. Again, Pragu with white, Ding with black. Let's see what happens. Will we see a repetition of game 1 or will something new be played? So d4, we have knight to f6 by Ding, c4, e6, and now not knight to c3 like in game 1. Pragu goes for knight to f3, sort of the anti-Nimzo variation, because in game 1 Ding declined the Nimzo. It sounds a bit odd when you say declined the Nimzo, like it's like the Nimzo is the greatest opening of all times, but you know, everyone is playing it nowadays, and he went for the Queen's Gambit declined instead. But here he just repeats with d5. We have knight to c3 and now pawn to c6. Sorry about that. And we enter the semi-Slav defense. We have bishop to g5 by Pragu, knight b to d7, e3, and now queen to a5. We go into the Cambridge Springs variation, or rather the Cambridge Springs defense of the Queen's Gambit declined, and this is now a very, very long theoretical struggle. So c captures on d5, knight captures on d5, and now queen to d2, adding more defense to the knight on c3. We have bishop to b4, adding a third attacker, and rook to c1, nicely defending. We have h6, bishop to h4, and now b6, preparing to play bishop to a6. You want to trade off this bishop for white slide square bishop. You know that white slide square bishop always gets to d3, and from there it's a monster, so it makes sense to trade it off. Bishop to d3 and bishop to a6. And now you can't just move the bishop back to b1 to keep it, as you will be unable to castle due to this bishop being on this diagonal. So here we have castles, being also castles, and pawn to e4. Now Pragu forces some trades here on the c3 square. Knight captures b, captures, and bishop to a3, attacking the rook. And here rook to b1 is a bit more common, but Pragu goes rook to d1. We have rook f to e8, and now comes rook to f1, rook f to e1, and this is now a new move. So already as of move 16, we have a completely new game. So a very standard setup. Pragu with the strong center, rooks nicely placed on the d and the e file, bishop on h4, ready to come to g3 if needed. So everything is nicely placed, and Ding has well, he has a lot of activity and the possibility of queenside expansion if Pragu allows it. So here Ding trades, bishop captures, queen captures, and now rook a to c8, saying that he's ready to charge at the center with c5. We have h3, and now, interestingly, Ding does not go c5, he goes b5. And here he says, I will go c5, and then I might play c4 like in game 1, as Pragu really had problems dealing with those, with the b and c pawn. That soon became a pass pawn. So rook to e2, preparing to double up on the e file. Now queen a4, remaneuvering with tempo. Rook d to e1, and now bishop back to f8. And here Pragu needs to decide how to go about this position, whether he wants to keep it solid with something like rook to b1 or maybe e5, just, you know, keeping the tension, rook to c1, waiting for Ding to figure out what to do, or to go aggressive with g4. This is what Pragu plays, and this, well, allows Ding to play a very principled move. If your opponent expands on the king side, you will strike in the center. So he plays c5, challenges the center, d5 by Pragu. This will give Pragu a pass pawn at some point, and now c4. So here Ding pretty much with a similar setup like in game 1, the pawn will come to b4, and then a pass pawn will be created. So queen back to d2, pawn to b4, going for this right away, there's no time to waste, and now d captures on e6. This is how Pragu plays it, and Ding just captures on e6. We have knight to d4, challenging the rook, and the rook to b6. So not a lot, not a lot to do here for Pragu. We have rook to d1, sorry, queen to d1, not rook to d1, queen to d1, offering a queen trade, and the Ding accepts. We have captures, captures, and now b captures on c3. So Ding created a pass pawn, and how will you tackle this? Rook to c2, going after the double c pawn, knight to c5. Now here Ding is going after the e4 pawn, and the idea is if the pawn is defended, he wants to go rook to b2. This is how he wants to play it, and after rook captures knight a4, attacks the rook, rook moves, we push the pawn to c3 to c2, and so on. But Praggo decides to give up the e4 pawn. He goes for the c3 pawn right away. Knight captures on e4, and now rook e3. Attacking the knight, knight back to f6, and now knight to e2. So you now have to create some sort of a barrier to stop this c pawn in its tracks, but it's not going to be easy. Bishop to c5. Attacking the rook on e3, rook e5, attack as the bishop, but okay, the bishop is defended, so just rook to b2. Attacking the knight, but also gaining control over the c2 square as your pawn now wants to start marching forward. Knight to c3 and bishop to b4. So everything is ready. We have rook to c1 defending the knight, and now knight to d7. Attacks the rook, rook to e4. We have knight to b6, and now comes a4, but now rook to b3 with a double attack on the knight here. Knight to a2, and now we have bishop to d2. Attacking the rook, but also the bishop just nicely controls the c3 square. So rook c2, we have c3, and now rook to d4. But here, Ding just played rook to b2, and he was in this position on move 39 that Praggnanandhaa resigned the game, and third victory in a row with the black pieces. The second one for Ding in a, well, just a crazy game. So it seems that black pieces are the one doing all the damage and stirring all the trouble. What will happen in game 4? Will Praggo be able to bounce back, get a win with the black pieces on demand and force tie breaks, or will Ding just make an easy draw and win the game? For those of you who don't know, even if the first match is over, there will be a second match tomorrow. It's not like who wins today is the winner of the event. No, there will be a second match tomorrow. So yeah, here you resign because there is nothing for you to do. Your rook is attacked, you can't move it anywhere, and if you trade, then okay, there's no stopping pawn to b1, you can grab the bishop, but then b1 queen comes with check, and it's game over. So here Praggo resigned, and very interestingly, Ding makes use of the b and c pawn. He just pushed them seemingly effortlessly, and Praggo was just unable to do anything about this. So very nicely done by Ding. That's not an easy thing to do. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very nicely done by Ding. I would like to wish a very happy birthday to Salvatore Canu, and I would like to thank Mark Manor, Ballswing.cat, first Elden Lord, and Nagarjuna Ponugoti for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, most likely with the final game of the match as soon as it finishes. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.